Hi, this is Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground Magazine, and of course, my esteemed colleague, Mike Gast,
Hi,
former
Mike.
vice president of communications at Campgrounds of America Incorporated. He writes for RVTravel.com. He likes to stir up trouble on RVTravel.com to some degree. And we've got quite a few guests today. We just wanted really quickly here at the beginning of the show to take some time to talk about our campground management market report that Scott Barr, president of Carn Consulting Group, and Billy McNamara, general manager of Loons Haven Campground. And she also works with Scott, have been putting together. I guess, Scott or Billy, just tell us quickly, I guess, what the why the survey, I guess.
You want to go, Scott?
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead.
Yep.
We're sitting there looking at each other like, But anyway, yeah, this is something what we wanted to do Billy and I during our conversations talked about some of the gaps in information that's available to campground operators, whether owners, managers, and such. And so we decided that we would embark on our own project to help do that. And with Billy's perspective at being a campground manager herself brings kind of a unique set of perspectives to the table in designing this kind of work. So what we're doing is trying to provide a service to the industry that has information that will help not just the industry overall, but the individual campground operators as well.
Yeah, and I mean it's a real quick survey. I think here's the link for it, but we also shared it on all of our social media posts. So it takes like 10 to 12 minutes to complete. It's pretty basic questions. There are some like fill in the blanks for park owners, just kind of some things about like what kind of park you're operating, what sort of challenges you're facing, what different things you want to do or wish you could do with the park. I guess, Billy, I know we talked about it a little bit at spring conferences, and you had just kind of indicated that you just wanted more information, I guess, on from the park owner's perspective, maybe something that wasn't out there already.
Yeah, and that's really a lot of it too that came into the questioning line is, what help do park owners and managers need out there? And it might be stuff that you're not even thinking of. And the results from this survey are going to open up so many different doors on looking at the data that you have in your campground and from your software, your reservation software, if you use one, looking at who your camper is, who you want your camper to be. That's the most exciting thing that I'm looking forward to is seeing, what campers are going to your campground. Do you know who they are? And then what campers do you want to come to your campground? And so when you can find the difference between those, like, so now what do you need to change in your campground to get those campers in that you want in your campground?
Yeah, and all of the responses are confidential, so people don't have to give out their names if they're uncomfortable doing that. And if you participate in the survey, you're going to get the first access to like a top line look at the results. I don't think there's not an end date to the survey yet, right, Scott? We're just kind of seeing.
No, not yet. We're leaving it open. We understand that it's a busy time of year for people.
Yeah.
And even the idea of even taking those 10 minutes out of the day sometimes can seem a bit daunting.
Yep.
But so we're going to leave it up for a while, and again, we'll share the information. If people want to reach out to either myself or Billy at any point to ask questions, I would invite them to do so. I try to do that with all of our work, even when we send out to tens of thousands of people. I put my personal information as part of that, sometimes to my chagrin. But I actually, in all seriousness, I welcome the feedback. I enjoy speaking directly with people. So please, anyone, whether it's me or Billy, please reach out.
So Scott, how are the results going to be shared?
We're going to generate a report, and Ben's going to be a big part of that. Hopefully, is we're going to share that with industry media and with the individual campgrounds. Again, as we alluded to, that it's a top line finding for for those folks who participate. And just kind of put the word out there. This is the first time we've done it at this level, and we're hoping to continue the effort on ongoing for future iterations. So, yeah.
Do you have to get a minimum amount of participation in order for it to be valid in your mind?
Yeah, we would like to. Yeah, we'd like to get at least several hundred responses out of it. It's because if you look at margin of error, we want to decrease that a little bit. So kind of our minimum there would be 400 completes, and that gives us like a 5% margin of error. We'd like to reduce that a little bit though. So the more the merrier, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So Billy, obviously you thought there was a need out there for this, and what have the owners and managers been using? What kind of tools have they had up to now?
I think, and something Ben had said, with the benefit of this show is you get to see face to face and talk with other people that you only get to talk to in conferences. I know, me being a main campground, we're closed for half the year, and so I don't get to see anyone unless I go to conferences. So with this kind of report, it'll give us a lot of information that I talk to people about at those different conferences, saying, or see the questions. There's so many Facebook groups or other types of groups on LinkedIn and everything where people communicate and ask questions. And these are going to give answers to those type of questions that campground owners and managers are asking, and they're asking each other. And that's the coolest thing about this, is that it's going to give information from that same insight of people who know what's going on and what needs to happen, and then getting answers from other ones and sharing those results.
Yeah, and like in future iterations of the survey, I think with the first one, right, you can take what you get and then maybe develop it even more, maybe for future surveys down the road, and change or questions or add questions based on some of the responses people give. So really the respondents have the opportunity to give their voice on this one and hopefully help with future ones too. So
absolutely.
But we have the link that people can click attached to the social media posts for the show, and it's 10 to 12 minutes. I think when I did test one, it took me a little bit shorter of a time to do that. So I guess it just depends on how fast you can click your mouse or answer questions. So,
and it's good for your computer or your phone. You can do it on either. So.
Yep. So just try to take the survey when you have some free moments. I know those are few and far between. And thanks, Scott and Billy, for just coming on and just talking for a few minutes about the survey. So.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right. Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Yep. And then our other guests who have been hiding in a corner, I guess.
Very patient.
Yeah. Allie and Eric Rasmussen. Did I say that right? I always want to say Rasmussen, like a Russian person or something. So from Spacious Skies Campgrounds, they're the founders of Spacious Skies Campgrounds, and they just celebrated their 1-year anniversary. And it must have been quite a year for you guys. You guys added 10 parks. I can't imagine closing on that many parks in 1 year. It's a lot of people.
It's been a whirlwind. And I think that we've just taken a few calculated risks, but we, started a year from Memorial Day weekend, just the two of us as Spacious Skies, and have since grown, not only the portfolio, but our operations team, our home office team, as we like to call it, is 12 or 13 strong by now. Of course, by now, all of our campground level employees also work for Spacious Skies. So we've grown, and we couldn't do it without any single one of them.
We've heard a lot in the last few months about the explosive growth in outdoors and camping in particular. And you guys are kind of the poster children for the potential of the industry. it's nice to put a face on somebody that's jumped in and really ran with something so fast. And it's phenomenal what you've accomplished in 1 year. Maybe give us a little bit of the background. Where'd you come from, and why did this seem like a natural lane for you to get into?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll let Eric explain a little bit about his background, which is in real estate, and I think that's a good place to start. So.
Yeah, I spent up until now, spent my career in commercial real estate and development in capital markets, real estate capital markets, and just all the different pieces and components that go into acquiring and building a real estate portfolio, which is essentially what we're doing here.
That's right. And my background is more on the creative side of things. I was a musician in a former life and then went in more into marketing. We both have MBAs. That's actually when we met, is during business school. And upon graduating there, we both worked for the same real estate developer of luxury apartment buildings and complexes. And Eric was on the development side, and I was on the marketing side of the operations, and in a pretty creative capacity. And so that was all put together. But also during the early days of the pandemic, we bought a COVID camper. We have 3 kids, and we took it out on the road for basically the whole summer of 2020. We've always had entrepreneurial dreams and visions, but couldn't really pinpoint what we might do together. And it was a light bulb moment, actually, at a KOA, I think.
KOA in Pennsylvania.
KOA in Pennsylvania, where we thought, what about we do this? And we had originally thought that we would, be more passive owners, and try to work with third-party management companies. The original thought was, we'll have 4 or 5 campgrounds. We'll work with a third-party manager to run the show. And it just turns out that our interests and motivations didn't really lend themselves to that model. We want to be in more control and to create a guest experience and create a brand with more of a hands-on approach. So and that's basically where we came from. Our first campground was Spacious Skies Walnut Grove in Alfred, Maine. When we closed on that, before the Memorial Day weekend, I ended up going up and basically GMing the park for a couple of weeks while Eric stayed with our 3 kids. And this was not an expected part of the plan. It just sort of happened that way. But we got management, and we got some staff on board after a couple of weeks. And since that first acquisition, we've been managing all of the parks ourselves.
I know that I've dealt with a lot of brand new park owners over the decades I was with KOA, and almost invariably when they would come to Billings for KOA University, they would say, well, we got into the campground ownership business because we really love camping. And the big joke around the corporate headquarters was, well, you're never going to go camping again. Are you still out there?
There's some truth to that comment.
We camp at our campgrounds. So we obviously have the family camper, but I am the one that travels more of the 2 of us. And so when I go on site, I travel with my cute little teardrop and stay on site. And sometimes I get to bring one of our kids with me, which is actually the beauty of the whole thing. Business trips certainly look different than they used to.
Yeah.
And, taking a kid to one of our campgrounds and letting them run free while I work with our team on site there, it works beautifully.
So you acquired 10 campgrounds. They're, located in a multitude of different states. I mean, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Virginia, North Carolina, all along the eastern, Tennessee, New York, Virginia. So I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, and they vary in different site sizes. You've got, I think your largest is 207 sites at the Spacious Skies Woodland Hills in Austerlitz, New York, and then you've got all the way down to like 50. I think there's like 62 sites if you include cabins at the one in Tennessee. So, I mean, what are you guys looking for when you acquire a campground? I mean, it looks like you're kind of, a little bit. I guess it looks like it varies to some degree.
It does. I think that we are open to, looking at sites that are anywhere between, 50 and upwards of 200, 300, 400 sites as a rule, but we don't really have any. We want to make sure that we're within a certain distance of major metropolitan areas, and we want to make sure that if you're coming to camp on our campground, that there's also other opportunities outside of the grounds for recreation, fun in the outdoors. But other than that, it's what feels right when we get there. And a lot of them have in 1 year.
Are you finding that you don't have to do much when you take over a campground, or is there a lot of projects on the list before they can really be a Spacious Skies?
I would say that they are all in the works right now. I mean, for sure, we come into more turnkey operations versus ones that we know are going to, need a heavier capital improvements list. But even the ones that are, turnkey, we're still doing all the work to turn them into what we envision to be Spacious Skies Campgrounds. And I think that's really exciting for the folks that come join our teams and come work with us, because we're moving really fast. And we have this big dream and these big visions, and we have this really cool brand that we're developing. And it's all a really fun thing to be a part of building. And every single person is contributing to making Spacious Skies what Spacious Skies is and is going to be.
So I gotta ask because I came out of the KOA model for 20 years. Is there any plans to franchise?
Well, I mean, we don't like to box ourselves into anything. We don't like to say no to anything. We don't like to, I think that's what adds to, what we would call our success, is that we're really flexible and like to, just be on our toes at all times. So it's not in the works right now. We have a lot more work to do before we can get to that point, but never know.
So I know in a previous article that we had up on Woodalls, you talked about consistency of like different elements of your parks, I guess. So what makes a Spacious Skies park a Spacious Skies park? Like, what is a camper when they enter one of your parks? What are some of the basics that they're gonna be able to tell? Well, I'm at a Spacious Skies park.
Sure. I mean, that's all the stuff that's in the works right now. We want to make sure that we have a set amenity package that's not uncommon across, KOA or Jellystone or any of the big names, or even plenty of mom and pops. I mean, we want to have good quality play equipment, a jumping pillow, a great camp store, a body of water to swim in, a dog park, quality Wi-Fi, all the main things that everybody wants to hit on. I would say that what we are developing with our brand is what really might help us, stand out and make us unique. It's what we're trying to develop with the brand is something that people can like collect almost. Each one of our campgrounds has while it's in our brand family, each location has its own unique icon and unique element that ties the surroundings or that region to that particular location. And so we'd really like it to be something where people want to visit all of the Spacious Skies campgrounds so that they can, mark it on their Spacious Skies map that we're developing, and have all the stickers lined up on the back of their car. They visited all of our locations. They've collected all of our mugs. The special Spacious Skies elements are what we are, driving to develop right now. But it is, just being part of something.
So we hear a lot about one of the number one concerns of campground owners right now is staffing. And how do you guys handle that? Has it been a big problem as you expanded so fast?
It has been something that we have contended with, and we do some work with a recruiting agency, but I wouldn't even say that their efforts have made up the bulk of our staffing at all. We have our team is lean for sure, and so we have various sub teams that we all are part of. There's team IT or team accounting, team HR, and so team HR, we have one dedicated HR coordinator who's doing all the heavy lifting, but then there's 3 or 4 of us that also contribute to any interviews or screening calls or onboarding or all of that. So it's really just a team effort to build up the team.
Do you guys keep quite a few employees when you acquire these parks? Are you finding that quite a few of the employees will stick around? We
do try to keep whoever would like to stay on, and we are usually we have great luck so far. We have, it depends on the campground that we come into. Sometimes the way that we like to operate and the standards that we like to set are just different than they're used to, and sometimes there's an adjustment period. But staffing has been a real adventure, but we've also been able to backfill any staffing spots that need to be filled, and we're just operating as usual everywhere.
So Eric, is your growth geographically limited? I know you're mostly in the East. If a great opportunity opened up in the West Coast, would that be something you'd be interested in at this point?
Definitely, yes. I would say that's something that is actively in the works. We are concentrated on the East Coast right now. We have a good handle on the markets in the East Coast. We have good traction in the acquisition and operations in the East Coast. We're actually working on a westerly expansion as soon as we can kind of acquire the critical mass and scale to make sense of that. That's something we're actively working on now, and I think hopefully by the end of the year we have a decent presence and footprint in other geographies.
What was it like getting the financing for 10 parks in 1 year? I guess I imagine you must have a good team you were working with.
That's a critical component of it. I mean, this is a capital intensive business for sure. I think we've been fortunate. First and foremost, we've been very fortunate with the team we've been able to build in-house, just real dedicated, steadfast people that believe in the mission and what we're doing and are a big part of it. And just as importantly as that, similar with our capital partners. We have very dedicated capital partners that share our vision and kind of share what Spacious Skies can become over the long term. And that's been a critically important component of all of this is having that kind of dedicated support and shared belief in the vision. Yeah.
Any thoughts to developing your own campground, or are you just mainly focused on acquisitions?
This second, we are focused on acquisitions. We think we see the most opportunity in acquisitions right now. We think that landscape will certainly change over time, and we will be expanders and developers at some point when the time is right. But right now, we're focused on acquiring.
And how about the loyalty program? I know that was mentioned in the Woodall story that you're thinking about developing a loyalty program. What's that going to look like?
Yeah, we're actively trying to think through that right now. And so for our reservation software and POS system, our partner is CampSpot. And so trying to work within their back end is really what we're trying to figure out. But I think that, at least for the 2022, the bulk of this season, we would like to offer, once we have it fully developed, like an early adopters or like, early fans type of deal where membership will be, on us, will be free for, if you sign up by whatever date. And then after that, it will be a similar model to what we've seen before, an annual, an annual membership fee, and then discounts on your site or the camp store. That's an and, not an or. And then, whatever little perks we can come up with throughout the year. But it's something that's really exciting because the consistency of the brand is really what we're trying to drive home here. So we're eager to see and eager to showcase like the whole collection of campgrounds and push folks to travel from Spacious Skies to Spacious Skies.
Is it? Do you see it still being just the two of you, or is it going to get big enough where you're going to have to bring in some other partners?
Well, I would not say it's just the two of us at all right now, and it hasn't been since June of last year. We when we brought on our original capital partners who are still partners with us today, that expanded our team. We also right off the bat brought a couple team members on to help build out the operations platform to help with the acquisitions load, and it's the team has been growing since the very beginning. I would say it was only Eric and I for just the first quarter of 2021.
So now I'm going to put my hat on for the RV owners out there who truly believe every time we talk about it on RV travel that new ownership brings higher rates, and that's just a given. Is that a given at Spacious Skies when you take over a park? Is it rate management 101?
I think that it's probably something that you see every time a new owner comes in. As you just mentioned, rates have to go up, I think, and we're really sensitive to the seller side. In the case of a mom and pop that we're working with, we're really sensitive to the seasonal campers that will inherit. We know that change is hard, and we also know, especially on the seller side, that when you are face to face every day with your extremely loyal camper customer base, that the decisions that you might make are not decisions that you can make if there's a little bit of a separation between your personal life and your business. And at no point do we want to make any campground that we come on anything that is unreachable. Spacious Skies Campground is a campground. It's a family campground. That is what we intend for them to all remain as. But we have to also make decisions for the business so that the lights can stay on and so that the improvements can be made. And, oftentimes folks are selling the campground for a reason. And we come in and we have the resources to turn things back around and to make the place, return to glory days.
Yeah, that's right. It's hard to look at rate increases in a vacuum. We have plenty of turnkey operations that we've acquired and we've tweaked and fine-tuned to optimize the best we can.
Absolutely.
And it is what it is. And then, looking at other campgrounds we acquired, we're coming in with a 7-figure capital improvement budget to take care of 40 years of deferred maintenance and upgrade the desperately needed amenities. So yes, rates in those campgrounds are going up because it's necessary to provide the quality of campground to give us some longevity and provide the experience that we're expecting and want to deliver to our guests.
That's right.
Yeah, Eric, what's the buyer's market been like in this last year? I know that buying a campground 5 years ago is probably a lot simpler and a lot less competition than it is now.
Right.
Are you just one of 50 out there when a campground becomes available?
It depends. It has varied wildly over the last year. I think exactly a year ago it was probably more akin to what you just described 5 years ago. There was a lot of opportunity, fewer buyers. That changed rapidly throughout 2021 and in the early parts of 2022. There's a lot of new buyers, a lot of new capital coming into the space for sure. But I mean, we're also seeing, there's a lot of volatility in the marketplace right now. Also, I think we're hopefully starting to see a separation of the people that have, long-term aspirations in this space versus the people that are chasing yield from a different asset class. Whereas we're certainly the former and building a program, building a portfolio, and building an experience for our campers. I think we'll continue to be active acquirers for the campgrounds that make sense. And I think we'll see there's movement, there's volatility in the rest of the market for sure. And we're seeing a lot of movement right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think back to that rate question, Mike asked all the hard questions. I get all the easy ones. So,
I'm too far out here; they can't reach me. So.
Yeah, I would respond to the RVers too. I think Eric mentioned it. There are a lot of parks, especially ones that are being acquired, that just haven't moved the rates in a long time, or they've moved them very slowly. So I think when new owners come in and they see some of the deferred maintenance work that has to be done in different things, it's definitely, they're looking to move the rates up to help with that. So, I mean, there are a lot of great parks out there, but there are also a lot of parks that need work too. So
Ben, I think that's exactly right. And that's honestly one of the things that got us into this industry and kind of what we viewed as the opportunity. It was stemmed from personal experiences and quite honestly, personal pain points of going from campground to campground. And we spent a lot of time in just really beautiful natural settings in campgrounds that were mismanaged, had extensive deferred maintenance, and we paid a very low rate to stay there. And we got the corresponding experience that came with that. And then conversely, when we would go and stay in the campgrounds that were well cared for, well managed, they had capital put back into the campgrounds and they came at a higher rate, our experience was always higher. There's always a correlation with that. And in a lot of ways, that's what we're doing. We're taking a lot of these, naturally beautiful settings and locations and turning them into what they can be.
Yeah, when you I noticed you talked about Wi-Fi earlier. That's such a key thing nowadays. Have all the parks that you guys have acquired, have they all had great Wi-Fi, or is that something you guys have had to kind of invest in as well?
We are actively investing in it as we speak. And a lot of our CapEx budget has gone towards improving the Wi-Fi on every campground, everyone. Yep. So we probably got a team member up on a ladder right now putting a node up or multiple. So it's actively in the works.
So have you been able to move the needle on occupancy at these campgrounds when you come in? Is that something that's even possible right now?
Yes, it certainly depends on the type of campground, the type of acquisition. I mean, you're using the turnkey ones that we've acquired where we have good, consistent data going back several years. I think the simple answer is definitely yes. There's a lot of demand out there, a lot of people seeking this type of recreation and lifestyle, and we're seeing it on the ground for sure. Yeah,
for sure.
We've exceeded our many of our wildest expectations in many of our campgrounds from a demand perspective.
That's very true.
All right. Road tripping with the tactics. I think I pronounced that right. I don't. These last names always get me. I have a weird last name. It's Quiggle, but I always get the last names always mess me up. They liked your idea about the stickers and the map and everything. I know I've seen that other campgrounds do something similar. There's a great campground up in Maine that changes out their gear every year, and it just really attracts campers. They want the new shirts and the cups that they create every year. So that's definitely an attraction point for campers if you can create something like that. Mike, does KOA have anything like that where you go around to different KOAs and collect stuff, or?
Oh, they've tried different things at different times, and the merchandising part of it is really left up to the individual franchisor or the individual owner. I can remember way back in the past when they would do passports, encouraging people to collect the stamps as they went around, and then there was a reward at the end of that, whether that was a additional discount or not. And it's very hard when you got a system the size, and I'm sure that Allie and Eric will find this out too, that when you get the scale, it makes a lot of things easier, it makes a lot of things tougher. And it also, being a franchising company, I think for KOA was always a challenge too, because you've got 500 individual entrepreneurs out there who run their own businesses, and to get them all to move in the same direction at the same time could be a real trick. So what you're doing right now is probably the quickest way to grow quickly, is you're the ones that are making all the decisions and making all the calls.
Yeah.
So Allie,
right.
what
And
do you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we really are. I mean, in that sense, the control freak nature that we both were born with is really, lending itself well to the program that we are trying to design here, which is, all that consistency. And for sure, it's easy to organize. Well, it's not easy, but with 10 campgrounds under our belt, it's going to look different than when there's more. Let's say that.
So you got to get the word out now, Allie. And you're the marketing end of this. And where should people expect to start hearing more about Spacious Skies? What's the marketing potential here?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, we have a little form on our website where you can sign up to start receiving our newsletters. We are developing them right now. We are, I mean, of course, we're on social media, which is a whole beast in itself. Yeah, each location has its own Facebook. Each location has its own Instagram, along with our headquarter level accounts. We are, every one of our campgrounds has a listing on the dirt and all of the spots that you would expect to see it. But, the loyalty program, I feel like that we're trying to develop here, or we're actively developing, is really where you're going to get that most of that interaction that we have planned going forward with Spacious Skies, the brand.
So when you look at those social media accounts, and I know I do some social media stuff, do you guys, I imagine you have to have help. Allie, you're not running all of those accounts by yourself, right?
Not anymore. We have an incredible marketing manager who is, in-house, works here in our home office. We also have partnered with an agency that is local to us. Like, we walk to their studio from our house here in New Jersey. And they are the masterminds behind our beautiful websites, and who I, work very, very closely with all of the logos and the brandings and all of that stuff. And so we're in a tight partnership with them as well. So not all me.
So Eric, are you going to be able to keep up this growth? Is what's coming in 2023? Are we going to see 10 more, or is it just going to naturally slow a little bit?
That's a great question that I ask myself daily. I think the goal is most certainly to accelerate our growth. Again, we've built a really great and dedicated team that have bought into our vision. We have great steadfast capital partners on the equity and debt side behind us that share the vision, share the goal. And I think we all kind of share that same vision of building this into something really large and wonderful. And I think that means more acquisitions. It means larger acquisitions. And that is certainly what we're working towards right now.
Yeah, definitely. I guess when you started this last May 2021, I can't say last May because we're almost at the end of June, which is just incredible. So when you started this in May 2021, I guess, what are some of the challenges as this kind of popped up that you just never thought about? Was it dealing with the campers, or?
Oh my goodness. I think it's every single one.
Everything.
Every single one. I think that where we, if we ever had expectations for anything or for how anything should go, we didn't really focus too much on that. I think that's something that Eric and I are really good at. Again, is our flexibility and our ability to just sort of weather challenges and obstacles as they come our way. Yeah, I mean, your example, the campers, sure, yeah, that's something that we had never managed before. Coming into, coming on site and being the new owners and having a real dedicated, loyal population of seasonal campers that make up a third or a half of the campsites that we're coming onto, and having to manage what their expectations are and their wants and their needs, and having to weigh what makes sense for the greater good. We would never make a decision that was bad for one camper versus another, but I'm having to navigate that is tricky. But
that's been a big one from my side of the house. Also surprising, also relating to people, is just kind of the human resources animal. This is grown into. We have 75 employees portfolio wide, and it's a piece of cash and growing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you've got to always have a mix on the campground, and typically when parks are up for sale, some of the older parks, they've got a pretty good collection of long-term, often residential guests in there. Is that something you've had to deal with? Is that something that you try to move along so you can have more transient action?
Well, we don't do anything that is meant to drive anybody away, but we do have to, say if we have to increase, the seasonal rate, for example, there's always a reason. Of course, we describe what those reasons are. It's more often than not that the rates just weren't appropriately increased over the last decade or so, and so we're just trying to play a little bit of catch up. We'll see natural attrition from there. We also have certain guidelines and etiquette that we have outlined as being, what we want our Spacious Skies long-term campers, how we want their sites to look. And some of those changes folks aren't really comfortable with, or it's just that change that is so uncomfortable for some people. Some people really just liked camping there because of the sellers and because of who they were. And we can't be who we aren't. So sure that we have seen some attrition, and that's okay, but we certainly haven't seen as much as we might have expected. So there's less sensitivity to certain things than we had originally thought.
So you mentioned these. Go ahead, Ben.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Have you been just to play off Mike's thought? Have you been moving seasonal sites to transient sites a little bit? I know when we talk to park owners, more are doing that to get the transient revenue, I guess.
Yeah, I think that is what we're doing. If we lose a seasonal camper, we will not typically fill that site up with another long-term guest. But there is a perfect blend that we're trying to figure out what that is, and it varies property by property. But as far as like relocating the seasonal sites, I think that's pretty common. You'll find that there are plenty of, probably the majority of campgrounds that have certain zones that are allocated for the longer term campers versus the shorter term side of camping.
Yeah, and part of it's playing into the practicality we see on the ground. Some areas of the campgrounds just aren't conducive to transient guests in and out. So you would place long-term guests in the harder to access sites. And I mean, from an underwriting perspective, we like the combination of the long-term and the short-term revenue. Yeah, the transients give you great ADR if you can hold the occupancy, but the long-term guests give you good occupancy certainty. And we think it's a really good blend to underwrite and manage. So,
absolutely.
That's kind of
Yeah, and I think people in the industry generally recommend separating the seasonal from the transient guests for the most part. So I think a lot of parks have two separate areas. But I know we've just been hearing a lot more about seasonal sites being turned into transient sites because park owners want the extra revenue from those. So So Mike, I think you had a question.
Yeah, Ali, you mentioned that Spacious Skies, you want the camper to have this signature experience when they arrive. So what could a camper expect if they arrive on a Spacious Skies, excuse me, a Spacious Skies location that's going to make them think, oh, this is different. This is a different sort of experience. I like this.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for starters, when you enter a Spacious Skies campground, the monument signage that we have in the works right now being fabricated, it's all going to be really consistent. So you're going to expect to see the same big blue Spacious Skies blue sign with the icon that is unique to each location changed out so that you know which one that you're at, but it's still that consistent experience. It's going to be an entryway that is naturally beautiful, but still like well manicured and well landscaped. You're going to come into, and we're working on trying to figure this out for some properties and some, building materials, but like the color palette, for example, like we are sort of departing from what is usually, seen on most campgrounds, which is like all of those like natural colors, and all that beige and brown and green. But we fully plan on just having all of the Spacious Skies colors, the Spacious Skies rainbow, we like to call it, be implemented or used in however we can implement that. So if that's like, we have the Spacious Skies rainbow in the pool furniture, or the Spacious Skies rainbow will have different picnic tables be painted all the different colors. Even working on painting some of the buildings and the cabins. So like a real colorful experience, but still in that natural setting. For sure, in the training of our staff, having that customer service be really consistent, and certainly not over the top or not in your face, but trying to help foster that self-led fun that I think most campers are seeking. I mean, that's why you go camping, is because you sort of like doing a little bit of work when you're having fun. I mean, I can't imagine ever, vacationing on a beach and just laying out. Like, we want to go, and when we're taking our leisure time, we go camping because there's stuff to do to have the fun. Of course, having that like well-stocked camp store, being able to go in and be greeted by a friendly, Spacious Skies face, whoever is driving around on the golf carts or doing any sort of work to be another friendly, Spacious Skies face. We would like everything to be just all the creature comforts, but have it still be a camping experience, a campground experience.
Yeah. We have go ahead. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no. And just to, go back to being able to, say, well, I went to Spacious Skies Minuteman. And then the next weekend I went to Spacious Skies Balsam Woods, and to be able to track your experiences down the map is part of the whole thing.
I should have visited Spacious Skies Minuteman when I was in Boston this last spring. I didn't realize it was right there. So that would have been neat. I do have a question about Spacious Skies Minuteman. So you have a different logo for each one, but for Minuteman, you have like a crane or something in the logo. So why did you decide not to have a Minuteman in the logo?
Well, this is really good feedback. That is a wild turkey.
That's a wild turkey? Oh, okay.
It's a wild turkey. And
all right, okay.
And that's a gobble somewhere. That's great feedback. And we picked the wild turkey because of the history in that area. Obviously, the Minuteman National Historic Park is right there, which is what the campground is named after. Ben Franklin, one of our founding fathers, from the Boston area, and his first choice for our national bird was the wild turkey versus the bald eagle. So it's a little play in history.
And I just went to look at it, Allie, and obviously it's a wild turkey. I don't know what Ben's doing.
On my screen, it was a little smaller, so I went with crane. But yeah, when you make it larger, it is a turkey. So, but at any rate, it's not a Minuteman. So that was the point I was trying to make. But
I was trying to find something that was I would like it to all be flora or fauna or something. Yeah. Each icon needs to be something that is from like a natural, it's got to be a natural thing. And so a Minuteman it departs from that.
Well, I guess looking to wrap this up, just one question I had. What's benefited you guys the most during your trip down, down the ownership path? I guess what are some of the resources that have just been beneficial for you as new owners?
Oh my goodness. Maybe this is like an easy answer, but our teammates truly are just everything. We couldn't do anything without the team that we have built up and who has grown with us. Part of our Spacious Skies mission and our like mission statement, our value statement, and just our beliefs are that we rely on each other for whatever gaps we have to fill. None of us needs to be wholly responsible for any one thing. If we are missing information or need guidance in any way, we know that we can reach out to somebody else on the team that might have that missing experience that we don't have, or that knowledge that we don't already possess. And it just goes all the way down to the GM and campground level. We make sure that we communicate via video conference weekly with our on-site teams, with our on-site leaders, the general managers, and got the ideas and the information that we get from them. I mean, of course, they're boots on the ground, so their perspective is huge. But the stuff that we take from them that we end up implementing across the board or plan to implement across the board, it's never ending. So we make sure that we keep all of those lines of communication open.
Yeah, to underscore that, I think that's kind of the key to all of this. I think we were fortunate early on to kind of recognizing Allie and I both have unique and disparate but complementary skill sets that allow a lot of this to work. But I think we were also very honest in recognizing our weaknesses and our gaps and understanding that and filling those with really talented people who happen to be their strengths. And that's been a really important part of all of this.
Yeah, that's right.
Has there been any, do you guys partner with like the state associations that your parks are in, or I know you guys are RVIC members, right?
We are, yeah, we are RVIC members and we are members of each state association. I think just given how quickly we've been moving, we probably don't lean on them as much as we could, but that's because we're taking care of a whole bunch of other stuff. But
we see retirees buy parks all the time, so I don't understand all this hard work everyone keeps talking about. It's a retirement job. So
it does scare me whenever I see something like that before. I'm like, oh please save yourself.
So that brings up one more question, maybe. Allie, are all your parks seasonal right now? Do they close up for the winter?
No, not all of them. The ones in the north for sure do. And then sort of as you go further south, the seasons extend. And then by the time you hit Tennessee and North Carolina, they're year round.
So what are you doing with these general managers that aren't all year? Are you keeping them on board?
That's a great question. Yes, we are. And we have some things in the works, some different program ideas, including, rotationals. Down south. So, our manager up at Spacious Skies Woodland Hills, that's a bad example because there's a lot of off-season CapEx up there. But, Balsam Woods, for example, all the way up in the tippy top of Maine, that's pretty desolate. That's not a great place to post up all winter. And so that would be, our GM there will have a great time doing a rotational down south and pitching in, especially when, our other seasonal workers or work campers who, might be ending their time with us for the season in, September, October, rather than having to scramble to fill in for any extra help, we'll call upon one of the Northern GMs to come take a turn.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good idea. I haven't heard too much about something like that, but where they transition to other parks during the winter, but that's a neat idea. So I think like Sun Outdoors and different things have different programs similar to that. But yeah, so
It's
yeah.
the benefits of scale.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
And the way that we're training everybody up on all the systems, it should be just as easy to walk into, one Spacious Skies campground and versus another and be able to just, plug right in.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I think that's about it for today. We don't want to keep you here for hours. I imagine you have other things to do.
Get more
Just-
campgrounds to buy.
So thank you for taking the time to join us, Allie and Eric. And thanks everyone for watching. And we'll be back next week. And hopefully everyone is having a great summer so far. So
Thank you for having us. It was a
you.
real pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.